Well, the crypto market has been a wild ride over the past 5 months. First, there was the trade war back in January that dragged on for months, and now we've got the Israel-Iran conflict adding even more uncertainty. These are huge global events that, let's face it, are completely out of our control, but they still put a lot of pressure on the market, sometimes in negative ways, and occasionally in surprising positive ways too. Take the trade war, for example. There are moments when things paused, 90 days here, another pause there, and it felt like the market could finally catch its breath. But just when things started to settle, something else would come up. One day we'd get an update about China and the US, and boom, the market would tumble again. It's been a roller coaster to say the least. So here we are watching to see if the US is going to step into the Israel-Iran conflict or not. Anytime we hear anything about it from Trump, the markets seem to react instantly. If it's a positive statement, the market seems to take a breather, but if it's negative, we just keep seeing things drop. The tricky part is that we haven't really seen any positive price movement lately, especially with Bitcoin. Since hitting an all-time high back in May, it's been mostly downhill. In this video, I want to dive into a few key points and break it all down for you. First off, let's talk about the worst case scenario, but don't worry, we'll also dive into the brighter side of things too. When we take a look at the crypto market right now, there's no denying it's taken quite a hit today. Just to give you some context, this is the monthly view we're looking at. Now, here's what the daily looks like. As I mentioned, there are definitely some steep drops, but when we zoom out and take a look at the weekly or monthly trends, you can really see just how much this market has been feeling the pressure. Let's take a look at what's been going on in the crypto market lately. On a monthly basis, we're seeing some pretty sharp drops across the board. Think 20%, 30%, or even over 40% for some coins. It's definitely not fun to watch, and it's tough to go through. But while the price action and overall sentiment have been pretty negative, it's important to keep an eye on what's happening behind the scenes in crypto. That's where the real progress is being made, and it's what could lead to not just higher prices, but also widespread global adoption of crypto, which I'll touch on in a moment. As for today's numbers, Bitcoin is sitting at $103,000, Ethereum at $2,400, and XRP at $2.12. On the monthly chart, XRP is down 11.4%, while Ethereum and Bitcoin are both down about 6.1% and 6.2% respectively. But let's zoom out a bit. On the yearly scale, XRP is actually still up an impressive 334%. Compare that to Ethereum, which is down 31.2%, and Bitcoin, which is up only 59.2%. XRP has been one of the top performers over the past year, ranking as the fourth largest gainer among the top 100 crypto assets. Sure, there are some newer projects making waves, but even some older coins like XDC, HBAR, and XLM, mostly utility-driven projects, have seen impressive growth recently. They're essentially riding the broader market momentum right now. I get it. It's frustrating to see so much positive news around crypto without the prices reflecting it. But here's the thing, no matter how great the news is, bigger global factors like wars or trade tensions create a lot of negative pressure on the market. That's just the reality, and it has a direct impact. Plus, let's not forget the market is still heavily tied to Bitcoin, which influences everything else. And if you're sitting here wondering, why is XRP down today? Is it because of this or that? The simple answer is no, it's because Bitcoin is down. That's really the easiest way to understand it. As long as Bitcoin dominance stays over 64%, altcoins won't have much room to take off in a big way. But let's not dwell on the negatives. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening in the crypto world right now. First off, how about that genius stablecoin bill? The Senate just passed it, and it's a big deal. There's still a few steps left before it's fully enacted, but this could be a game changer. On top of that, we've got Eleanor Tourette talking to some key folks, so you know there's more insight coming soon. Trump has been getting a lot of calls from industry stakeholders, and it's all about the market structure legislation. So now, in addition to the stablecoin legislation, we're also hearing buzz about market structure changes. The big news, all of this could be wrapped up by August, Trump's own deadline. Trump has made it clear, no delays, no add-ons, nothing extra. He wants the Genius Act on his desk ASAP, so he can sign it into law. And if everything goes as planned, both pieces of legislation could be signed by August. That would be a major win for crypto. Even with all the recent negative price action, there's a lot happening behind the scenes. Let's not forget about ETFs. Those tied to altcoins are still performing strong, holding at 90% or higher. Of ETFs, we've still got a big chunk of older coin ETFs that could likely get approved this year. There's over a 90% chance for many of these to pass This isn't just wishful thinking. It's coming from ETF analysts who've been spot on about previous approvals like the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. These are senior analysts working at Bloomberg who really know their stuff. Now, about the FOMC meeting, no surprise here. The Fed didn't cut rates. June was essentially just a pause. Looking ahead, there's only about a 16.5% chance of a rate cut in July, but by September, that jumps to over 70%. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. If the summer ends up being quiet like last year with little price action, we'll write it out. But personally, I'm feeling optimistic that we could see some higher price action before September rolls around. I could be wrong, and I'm totally fine admitting it if I am, but there's so much happening in the crypto space right now. It's hard not to be excited with ETFs, the stablecoin bill, market structure legislation, and even the possibility of a Fed rate cut. There's a lot to keep an eye on. If the rate cut happens in July, that would be amazing. But hey, even if it's September, I'm good with that too. There's so much happening in the crypto world right now, from growing adoption to big institutional players diving into stablecoin and crypto initiatives. There's no shortage of activity. Yet, despite all this noise, the price action over the last 5 months has been, well, pretty dull. I even mentioned this on X. It's been 5 months since we've seen any real excitement in crypto prices across the board. And let's be honest, people are starting to feel it. Retail investors seem to be crumbling under the pressure. I read hundreds of comments every day, and the sentiment is clear: frustration, exhaustion, and even giving up. The current consensus? No, alt season is coming. The market has peaked, and we're heading straight into a bear market. But here's the thing. I see opportunity where others see defeat. Sure, things feel uncertain, but that's exactly where potential lies for those willing to take the risk. There are really two scenarios at play right now, and both could work in favor of the bold. First, we might actually be closer to alt season than ever before, with a potential start as soon as July. I've shared a few times why I believe we could see some big changes by the end of this month or early July. That's scenario one. Then there's scenario two. If we follow the patterns from 2020 and 2021, we might not see the alt season kick in until late this year and into 2026. Both are possible. Personally, I think scenario one is more likely. The timing patterns on Bitcoin dominance and total 3 from past cycles seem to line up, but hey, I could be wrong, and we could end up following scenario 2 instead. Either way, I'm confident we're going to see much higher price movement soon. Let's be real. This isn't an easy game. If it were, everyone would be making a fortune, but that's just not how it works. Many people will panic and sell too early. Others will lose money before they see any real profits. It's tough, no doubt about it. But here's the thing. Remember that you didn't get here by luck. This journey isn't easy, but sticking with it and learning along the way is what gives you the edge. Now, let me build on this a bit. I'm not the only one noticing this trend. There are a few sharp analysts out there who share the same perspective. For instance, my good friend Bobby recently shared a fantastic post. Here's what he said. Everyone in an upward macro trend. Sentiment is in the gutter. The narrative feels like the end of the world. Everyone's convinced the market is done for. Most people are bearish, and there's zero euphoria anywhere in sight. The perfect setup. Right now, the crypto market feels pretty quiet. No one seems to care much about it, and it's flying under the radar. But here's the thing. Behind the scenes, a lot is starting to happen. We're seeing progress with ETFs tied to altcoins, stablecoin bills moving forward, and potential legislation around market structure and stablecoins coming together at the same time. Think about it. This market may seem stagnant, but there's a lot quietly building in the background. And here's another interesting twist. Many of the big accounts are flipping bearish. In fact, they've been bearish for a while now. Take Binance Lancelot as an example. They recently posted something about how Bitcoin has just completed 2 Elliott Wave 5s, marking the end of a 14-year cycle. They even pointed out that parabolic support has turned negative. So yeah, there's a lot going on beneath the surface. Bitcoin's never going higher. Bitcoin's done. Oh, you got to love these takes, right? The idea floating around now is that Bitcoin has hit its peak after a 14-year run and is heading down to $20,000, 0 cents, or even lower. And hey, let's talk about the S&P 500 for a second. Some folks are pointing out that we've lost the overall trend we had back in March and April. The SPY index, yes, the SPY is dropping out of that trend, which has people saying we're on a cascade downward. Zero next, right? Oh, and here's a fun one. The .com bubble comparisons are making a comeback. I saw someone post the other day that we're in the same boat as the .com crash, which apparently means we're due for a massive drop right now. We're living through a massive technology revolution, one even bigger than the internet, with AI, blockchain, DLT, stable coins, and more. There's so much happening right now. Sure, people like to compare this to the dot-com bubble, but honestly, it's way too early to assume we're heading for a pop. You've probably noticed all the big accounts stirring up engagement by playing on fear, right? I mean, it's hard to miss. 2.1 million views and engagement through the roof. But here's the thing, you're going to see a lot of this. There's so much noise out there and it's easy to get caught up in it. Meanwhile, crypto is buzzing, and let's talk about the weak dollar. When the dollar's weak, what does that usually mean? Risk on assets tend to look very bullish. But right now, everything's flipping negative, and I get it. It's a lot to process. When it comes to XRP and Bitcoin, I'm keeping an eye on two key levels, especially in a worst case scenario. Here's what that could look like. Let's say we don't see a pump going into July. Instead, prices actually dip from here. For XRP, that could mean dropping to around $1.80. But from there, we'd likely see a recovery, moving back up to retest a major resistance level. After that, we might see a bit of a sell-off and another dip, maybe around $2.20 as a support zone. Once we find that support, things start to look up again. XRP could climb back to previous highs with some smaller sell-offs along the way. We might even see a resistance zone flip into support before finally getting that big breakout everyone's been waiting for. This kind of price action would probably unfold toward the end of the year. So worst case scenario, we see a drop first, targeting $1.80 or $1.90, and then a climb higher from there. And honestly, the same general idea applies to Bitcoin too. Here's the outlook for Bitcoin. Right now, we're seeing some bearish price action. Technically, there has been a higher high on the chart since December, with the May high being a key level. From here, we're looking at a potential drop targeting around $83,500, 0 cents, maybe even dipping slightly below that level. After that, we could see a retest of previous highs, but likely another sell-off due to hitting major resistance. This might bring us down to a shallower level like the mid 90K range. After some back and forth movement in this range, we could finally see a breakout, which would take us to the official cycle top. At this point, we might even hit a season where XRP trades at $5 or more. Definitely something to watch. Worst case, we see that drop, then a recovery, and things move forward from there. This would really shake things up, shake the tree completely. Everyone would feel frustrated, maybe even like they're at their breaking point. But then out of nowhere, we'd see the biggest surge of the cycle. This isn't new. It's happened before. Remember back in late 2020 into early 2021? In December 2020, for example, things took a dive. XRP had the lawsuit announcement and everything seemed uncertain. But by the end of December and into January, what happened? Ethereum started skyrocketing, and soon after, altcoins followed suit, going parabolic. All right, so aside from Bitcoin and XRP, I want to share something else exciting that's happening behind the scenes. M2, the global M2 money supply with its 12-week lead on Bitcoin. You've probably seen this chart before, right? Fast forward, if you take a closer look, the M2 supply has dropped slightly. And as expected, Bitcoin's price is following suit. Right now, we're seeing a bit more of an exaggerated dip, potentially down to the low to mid $80 K range. This could retest a major demand zone, which is totally normal. From there, I believe we'll see Bitcoin align with the M2 supply again, pushing up into the $140 K to $160 range. Anywhere in that zone looks solid to me, and $150 K to $160 K seems like a sweet spot. And here's the kicker. When Bitcoin climbs to those levels, we could finally see altcoins take off and kickstart alt season. We're definitely in a Bitcoin season right now, and that's why altcoins haven't been performing great. The price action across the board has been pretty underwhelming. In fact, we haven't really seen any big moves in altcoins since way back in December or January. But here's the thing. It's been 5 months. Yep, 5 months without any significant price shifts. Take XRP, for example. It's been stuck moving sideways and in a downtrend for over 156 days. Meanwhile, we're watching geopolitical tensions heat up, and the ongoing trade war isn't helping matters. Tariffs are even being used as a reason for the Fed to avoid cutting rates. Right now, the overall environment definitely feels bearish, but it's important to stay focused and keep an eye on how things might shift. The sentiment around crypto right now feels super bearish, doesn't it? Even with all the exciting developments happening, everyone's asking, why aren't we seeing a pump? Well, here's the deal. Crypto is still closely tied to Bitcoin, which is tied to stocks. And stocks are influenced by all this geopolitical tension until Bitcoin starts to break away and show some real price movement. And let's be real, we might see another sell-off before that happens. Things are going to stay pretty dull and frustrating. For altcoins, it could get even trickier with those sharp dips, but I want you to see the bigger picture here. This isn't the time to throw in the towel or walk away from crypto forever. In fact, this could be a huge opportunity in disguise. Moments like these separate long-term believers from those who get shaken out. So don't give up, stay focused, keep learning and stay in the game. And hey, if you found this helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more free content. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.